So the game started with Pirc defense. So black played d6, and when I see this structure, I will expect black's going to push the g6 pawn and the bishop to g7, because this two pawns is blocking the dark square bishop developed, for example, to c5, and also black didn't control the center at the first move. So at a later stage of the game, black is more likely to push the pawn to e5 or c5 with the support of d6. So basically, black will give up the center control at the beginning, but will counterattack with the pawn strike. So since black didn't control the, for example, d4, we can push the pawn to d4 without any concern. Knight f6, knight c3, protect the pawn, develop the knight, that's good. g6 and knight f3. Bishop g7, bishop d3. So if we look at the light square bishop, we have this diagonal to be developed, and I will talk about moving the bishop to g2 later. But let's look at these four squares, and the question is, where should we develop our light square bishop? Bishop e2 is fine, but it's a little bit defensive and passive. There's no problem with this move, but the bishop is not aiming at any target. So this could be a choice, but I don't think that's the best one. And bishop d3, so if we look at the diagonal, the bishop is potentially attacking to, for example, this pawn structure. So our bishop is actually facing a very strong or solid pawn structure. So even though we push the e5, I don't think we can attack g6 very soon. So bishop d3 is okay, but it's very hard to further attack black pieces. And another downside is bishop at d3 is blocking the queen, controlling d5. Or later, maybe when we move the rook, when we are able to move the rook to d1, the d3 bishop will also block our rook. Since we have very strong center pawns at the center, so it's very likely that we will open up the center in the middle game. So it's better that keep these open files clear. And bishop c4, in my opinion, is the best position for the light square bishop because it has a very long range and we can attack f7. I mean, we cannot get anything on f7 right now, but potentially we can attack it when we have the opportunity. And also the bishop at c4 is controlling one of the center square. So controlling center is a good thing. Bishop b5 is certainly not an option, a good option, because c6 pawn will kick our bishop away, and it just facilitated black keep pushing pawn at the quick side. And also when we look at bishop c4, we can also retreat to b3 to make it safe, and also controlling this diagonal. So my point is, if we look at these four squares, I will consider bishop c4 as the first option. And another thing is, we can of course develop the dark square bishop and preparing long castle, because if we want to attack the black king, we need to push pawns. For example, h4, h5, or h4, g4, h5. So we need to create a pawn break, for example at h5. So the point is, it's better that we have the rook at h5. So if we castle long, we can utilize the rook and the bishop at the dark square to set up an attacking plan. And also, how can we deal with the g7 bishop? The g7 bishop is a very good defender, but also an attacker. The bishop is aiming at this diagonal and also can defend the king, defend all the dark squares. This structure is really solid to defend the king. But how can we deal with this bishop? Usually we need to exchange with that, like bishop h6, follow up with the queen at d2. So if we don't want to develop the light square bishop at this moment, we can of course develop the dark square bishop, but be aware of knight g4. Black is going to exchange the knight with the dark square bishop. But I mean, we can play h3 first and bishop e3, queen d2 and long castle. So that could be the plan. So in this game we play bishop d3, knight c6, and castle, castle, bishop f4. I think bishop f4 is good. But also I'm thinking maybe d5 is something we can consider, because if knight goes to e5, we can exchange that, and black has double pawn. This pawn structure is not good, and we can keep pushing the pawn and later e5 to get more space. But I'm also realized that d3 bishop is a little bit blocking the d file, so it's better that our bishop is at c4. So if we push the pawn to e5, so for example f4, black take our pawn e5, so now I cannot do e5 because I will lose d5. But if I have bishop to c4, I can protect the pawn. So my point is d5 can control more space at the square, at the center square, and also kick the knight away. So yeah, this is something I will go for. Or h3, stopping bishop g4. So we move bishop to f4, bishop to g4, and we play h3. So now I think we didn't see where this two move is coming for. And black is winning a center pawn. And now black's has built up a very strong advantage at the board, because it has up one pawn, and also it takes our very important center pawn. And also the knight is very strong, attack our queen. Our queen to d1, e5, bishop to e3. So now has black's better than us. Queen e7, queen d2. I think it's better for us to remove or kick the knight away as soon as possible. The knight is really annoying, so maybe we can offer a knight trade, or after knight d5 we can play c3 to kick the knight. Rook da, knight d5, we offer exchange at b5, but the thing is, after the exchange we will lose another center pawn, and our queen is kicked again. So yeah, that's a big problem. And even though we win the e7 pawn back, but there's a potential problem that if black play b6, our bishop might be trapped. But in this game, black play e4. We want to, yeah, attack the e4 pawn, but I mean, black can defend the pawn very well because the center pawns are connected. And black take over another pawn, queen e4. Yeah, so we are done with two pawns. And d5, yeah. So this is the power of center pawns. And basically, our bishop, the light square bishop, is quite blocked with this pawn chain. And it's very hard for us to break through the pawn chain. Yeah, the bishop is trapped. Yeah, after, yeah, rook a8, the a4 is controlled. And I'm pretty sure we lose the bishop. So, yeah, so I think I mean the first problem, of course, is losing the d4 pawn is a problem. So maybe we can move the bishop e3 to protect that. And yeah, since our this bishop blocking the queen, so we cannot protect the pawn with our queen. But of course our knight is pinned. Maybe move the bishop to e3 and or bishop to e2, and later kick the bishop with h3. Yeah, that could be an approach. And before I wrap this up, I would like to share how I would play as white against Pirc defense. So let's look at this structure. So we have these two pawns, and if you ask me how would I attack, set up a plan at the middle game, I would say I would consider, for example, queen e2, rook d1, and push pawn e5 to control more space at the center, and then trying to open up the center. And if you have more space, if you have a better control at the center, the higher chance that you can control the open files at the center, because it's easier for you to maneuver pieces. And as you can control a file, you can put the pieces into your opponent's like break through your opponent's defense. But it's also hard to, I mean, black can also push upon e5 to, as I said, so e5 or c5, this is the typical way black counter attack the center. In this game, black played knight c6, so e5 is the, I think that's the only move black can attack the center, in my opinion. So yeah, so I mean, attacking on the center could be one approach when your opponent chose Pirc defense. But another thing I would recommend is adding another pawn, the f pawn, to the center as well. So we will have even better control at the center, even stronger control at the center, and also we can attack the king side. So how can I do that? So instead of move the knight at f3, I will move the knight to e2. And you might ask me, how can I place my light square bishop? Then I can show you. So as I said, apart from moving the bishop on this diagonal, we can also move the bishop at g2. So for example, castle, bishop g2, and black could potentially move, I don't know, e5 or c6. So I think either move, like e5, we can play castle, and if you take my pawn, I can still control the center with the knight. And black could potentially play c6, b5, a5, and we can play f4. So we will have even more pawn at the center. This is just an example. I'm not saying this is exactly best move for this position, but the idea is, since our knight is not blocking the f pawn, we can push the f pawn to add another pressure at the center. And also, if we have pawn, for example, because in a lot of cases, in Pirc defense, black is going to attack our queen side. So for example, we can push f4 and then later f5 to attack the king side with f pawn, and also e5. Or f4, bishop e3, queen d2, f5, bishop h4. And with our light squares of g2, we can have a very solid king defense, and the bishop can attack this diagonal. So this structure is really strong, and we don't need to worry about the pawns at the center, as what we saw during the game. So yeah, 92, and bishop g2, and pawn pushing f pawn. So this could be my structure playing against Pirc defense. And you can tell the rating or evaluation bar favors white. So yeah, so that's my suggestion, and that's it.